Hey there, Danny here. Welcome to my ramblings. Stay tuned to the end of the video because I am going to give you a challenge for this week. It's only 7 days. I'm just curious if you get anything out of it or not. You don't have to do it if you don't want. So I would like to discuss judgment and projection. I always told my kids that if you point the finger, there are three pointing back at you. And that doesn't mean that you physically have to be pointing the finger. You can just be verbally pointing the finger. But judgment is essentially things in ourselves that we don't like. I actually dated somebody who was, anytime a woman that he knew started dating some guy that he knew, automatically he'd start ranting and raving how that other guy was an alcoholic and an abuser. Nobody asked anything about any of that stuff. It didn't fit into what we were discussing. He was projecting who he was because he was 100% an alcoholic and an abuser. So, when you start to notice that you're judging people, you might want to step back and look at yourself. Once you start doing that, then you can start rewiring your brain and you won't do it anymore. Now when somebody does something stupid when I'm driving out there, majority of the time, as long as it doesn't cause me to have to slam on the brakes and almost hit them, I just kind of laugh about it and let it go. Because, well, I've been there, I've done it. Who hasn't pulled out in front of somebody before? Come on, it happens. You're not perfect. But in our society, we like to think that other people think like we do. So when it comes to judgment and projection, we tend to put the things that we don't like about ourselves off onto somebody else. So we're essentially using the other person as a mirror for who we actually are. And it just says to me, when I hear somebody being judgmental, I automatically know that that's a battle that person is dealing with, not the person they're talking to, not the person they're judging. It's them. They're the ones that need to change that. And I don't, before, I used to think, well, that's horrible. Now I actually feel sorry for them. You have no idea what freedom, peace, and happiness are. And you never will, as long as you are not looking at yourself and growing and trying to find your true authentic self. So when you get to the point of loving yourself and your true authentic self, you get all that preconditioned crap that you've been buried under out of there. You really are able to start to see there were red flags throughout most of your life in any type of relationships you had. You just kind of overlooked them, or you didn't really pay attention to them. Once you get to your true authentic self and you love yourself, those red flags are are big neon signs in your brain going, hello, this person, all right. And if it's taken in the whole big picture and this isn't something this person normally does, then you can be like, okay, they had a moment. We all do. We're human. If they constantly do this, that's somebody that's at a lower energy level. And misery loves company. So they're going to try to get you down to their level because they don't want to have to level up. And when we women hear how, oh, well, you intimidate men. No, we don't intimidate men. There's no intimidation here whatsoever. It is simply because of the fact that guy does not want to do the work and level up energetically to where she's at. He wants to be part of her, but he doesn't want to have to do the work. So if he can just drag her back down to where he is at, because misery loves company, then he doesn't have to change. Problem is if you're not growing, you're stuck in your comfort zone. I don't want to do the same thing day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year, until I die, what kind of enjoyment and peace is that? It's not. We're supposed to be out there exploring and having experiences and making memories. We never know when somebody we love and care about is going to have their last day. So while we are all here, we need to be enjoying experiences in each other's company because we don't know when that's going to end. So once you start to see those red flags and you start to realize that somebody is not at your level energetically, you don't have to say anything to them. You don't even have to acknowledge it. The truth is, you just distance yourself. You can still be friendly and everything else, but just keep it at, hey, how's the weather type stuff, as simple as possible. I wouldn't share any secrets or anything like that with this person because this person's going to try to drag you to their level. And if they can't do it to your face, they're going to do it behind your back. And that's because they've got to get everybody else to see you the way that they see you, the way that they want to see you, the way that they need you to be, so then they don't have to look at their crappy self. So we tend to think as humans. I've never understood why we do this. To me, it's absurd. But we tend to think that other humans think like we do. How can we all be unique and different if we all think exactly the same? That doesn't make any sense. It's never made any sense to me, even when I was a teenager. But I get it. I think that's the way that it is with people who don't want to level up, who don't want to find their true authentic self, don't want to take the time and the effort that it requires to get to this point. And I'm going to tell you right now, getting to this point is not for the weak. You will not see a weak person do this. They can't. They can't. It really floors you. When you first start on this path to loving yourself and your true authentic self, you're gonna have to look at some things that you've done. You're really going to have to look at who you are. And that means you can't place blame anywhere else. You have to take full 100% accountability. So I'm not saying that if somebody cheated on you, that's your fault. You have no responsibility in that. However, if you choose to stay with that person and they do it over and over and over again, now you're 100% at blame. Because you agreed to stay knowing exactly what they were doing. So you really have to look at yourself and hold yourself accountable, which is not an easy task to do. Where I'm at, I would never go back. It was a hard, long road these past 3 years, but I'm telling you, it was well worth it. The people that I'm meeting, the people that I'm hanging out with, it's all positive. There's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of you're comfortable. You're comfortable with a stranger within 5 minutes. If you're not, you're able to tell that they're not at your level. A lot of people that don't want to energetically level up will kind of act like they'll be, I don't want to say they're necessarily rude, but they're not going to interact with you the way that you interact with other people. And that's mainly because they don't want to look at themselves to get where you're at. And being in your presence and being around you makes them uncomfortable with who they are. They don't want to admit that to themselves, but that's exactly what it is. So when we're being judgmental, we're essentially projecting who we are. So the other person that we're being judgmental about and projecting who we are, they're kind of like a mirror, and we're looking at ourselves and we're actually talking to ourselves. We just don't see it that way because if we did, that would mean that we'd have to follow through and do all that hard work to love ourselves and find our true authentic self. With that said, I would like to share a story with you, and then we will get to the challenge. So, my friend Chris, back in August or September of 2021, a few months after my mom passed, him and I had been messaging back and forth, and I drive around all day. I mean, 9-10 hours in the car. I do talk to other drivers when I'm in restaurants. I do talk to people at the restaurants because I go to the same ones most of the time, so people that work there know me. I'm actually on a hugging basis with some of these people. I've been doing it so long. So, I just lost my train of thought, damn it. So when I was out driving, Chris and I are texting back and forth. And Chris is asking questions and whatever. We didn't really know each other well. We were just getting to know each other at that point. And all of a sudden, I had this strange, weird thing. Road rage was horrible for me way back when. So I said to Chris, I sent him a message and I said, hey, I said, do you think that the people that we are angry with, we're angry with them because it's actually us who does that stuff too, and we just don't want to see it in ourselves? And he comes back and says, wow, that's really deep, because I didn't know we were going this deep today. So anyways, I started to pay attention to when people would screw up. And I would get, road rage. I was always on my horn, trust me. Road rage was horrible for me way back when. And I started to notice that I would mess up. And when I would mess up, I'm like, why do I get mad at other people? I do it too. Eventually, I rewired the brain, and I was to the point where it came natural. When I'd see somebody screw up and I know it's something that I've done, not just once, but a few times, several times, now I just kind of laugh about it. Yep, I understand. I've been there. I get it. You tend to sit in more peace and happiness when you start to realize that your judgments are really your own issues that you need to address. So the challenge for you this week is, I want you to notice when you are triggered or getting upset or angry. I want you to count to 5 or 10, take a couple of deep breaths, whatever you need to do. And I want you to stop and think, have I ever done this? Why am I angry at this person? And especially if it's a total stranger that you're doing this with, because that definitely is your problem, not that person's problem. If it's family related or anything, well, this doesn't work for everything, but I want you to be aware and pay attention. After 7 days of doing this, so next week, Tuesday, I'll do another video and then we'll discuss it. And I'll share some more crazy stories of me learning to not be judgmental and not project, because I got a few of them. So your challenge this week is to pay attention to what angers you, upsets you, or triggers you. And if it is a stranger, recognize that that is an area you need to work on. If it is a family member or friend or somebody else you're in a relationship with, you might want to look at yourself and see if this is something that you have an issue with. It could just also be a dynamic that is in your family, and you tend to only get triggered when it comes to the family or significant other type situation. But pay attention to when you're triggered, upset, and angry, and see if there's some things that you could fix. As you're thinking of this, I would just like to discuss next weekend, and this is the feedback that I want, is to know how it went for you. Did your week get easier as it went on? The more you started to realize, oh my God, I've done that like 5 times in the last day or two. By the end of the 7 days, did you lessen up on what you were doing that made you angry? Did you actually make some progress? Did you feel a little bit more at peace? These are questions we will talk about next week. I look forward to going over these all with you. I would love your feedback. Put it in the comments, put it in the community section, message me if you don't want everybody else to hear it. Whatever you prefer, we'll have that discussion. I will be having other videos before then because I try to do it every other day or every couple of days, because I do other things too. So with that said, good luck with your challenge this week. I'm really looking forward to hearing about it. And then next Tuesday I'll give you another challenge. And we'll see where we can go with this, guys. If you have any questions, comments, anything, feel free to reach out. I'm always here. And I hope you have a great night. See you later, guys.